Project Success 101, the supply chain. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the portion in the integrated production control system that deals with the supply chain, getting the resources to the project site, right? And when you hear integrated production control system, I want you to know integrated means with the whole team. Production control means that we should be creating production plans, not schedules. And system means that it ties in and works as a system. So in this one, do you want to know the difference between a procurement effort and supply chain management? Would you like to know how to manage that procurement effort and how to bring materials here just in time? If you do, you've come to the right place. So before I get over here to my flip charts, I want you to know if we can get the materials here, we can pretty much build it. Even if you're using a garbage CPM schedule or some other ineffective method, you can typically power through if you have the resources, meaning like just kind of by sheer accident and happenstance. Yes, there will be waste, but you can kind of get it done. The concept or the problem of not having the materials is a huge problem. And the best way to do that is to align your supply chain with the Takt production system or with what we call flow schedules that are on a rhythm. These are the production plans. So I'm going to cover a couple of concepts that you're absolutely going to love. Let's start now. So number one, procurement is the simple act of procuring the labor, service, and resources for your job. We don't just want to do that. We want to manage the supply chain. Okay, and so let me talk about this here. I love anchoring back to why this impacts the foreman and the workers. So if you have the foreman and you have the workers over here, right, and they're installing in a work package and they're the most important thing that we're trying to enable. In another video, we've already talked about the team, right? This becomes the support team to get what they need. Then the plan. If you have the plan, now the workers and the foreman and the work packages know what plan they're following. The other thing is we have to get them the resources, okay? So one of the key things that we have to understand is that this crew is working in a single Takt wagon where their work package is, and they're working with other trades on a rhythm. You've seen me talk about before this time by location schedule with this beautiful diagonal flow. But we have this system that I want to mention. There's this supply chain all the way back, which is the design, fabricate, deliver, and transport or to the install. So I'll say transport to install, where we actually move it on site. So this right here is your overall supply chain that must be managed, okay? So what we're talking about is don't just, oh, this is good, this is really good. It's probably good enough to where you might want to like right now, because you love this video. You know you love me. Okay, anyway, so like instead of just being like, hey, trade partner, we're going to procure you to start here with the right resources and the labor, and this is the day that you start. Good luck. We'll see you then. Instead of doing that, the general contractor should be involved not only with this, but the preparation of the scope and the management of the supply chain. So procuring is just a one-time deal. Technically, the management of the supply chain is being involved all the way back here so that we can design, fabricate, deliver, and then transport it to the point of install. So this is pretty crucial. So I really want to talk about a couple of the key steps along the way that will help you out. Oh, and by the way, I do like to visualize the overall system backwards, meaning that we are going to design and fabricate and deliver according to this rhythm. So whatever this trade is, the rhythm that they're following in our production plan, that's the initial rhythm. So the first part, once we have the design, and I drew this in a diagonal because I want you to know that the design will accommodate how we have the project broken out in phases and zones. Once we have the design, we must make sure that we have a good buyout process. Now, the buyout process will make sure that we are buying out the right scope on the project, and again, segmented and broken out into phases and zones like this, and that scope has the right contractor. So we will select the right contractor to be a part of our production system, because this is not low bid, hey, just go figure it out. This is, we need the right contractor in here to actually install this, right? So obviously then we're going to want to have an executed contract, but there's something else. We must have the insurance and any other, I'm just going to write insurance plus any other compliance items that we need, so that they can go ahead and be released. There's a point of release here for your procurement efforts. And yes, I'm using the term procurement, but this is also in addition to the supply chain management. So your procurement efforts, the key things that you must do here is you must, for this trade, let's say it's coming over in this direction, you must make sure that every single step along this path is outlined and optimized and tracked. So that means that the PM and the superintendent will meet on a weekly basis and say, okay, the materials have reached here, have reached here, have reached here. Oh my gosh, they're a little bit late. We were supposed to have this done sooner. Okay, what are we going to do? This is when you dig deep and you identify, discuss, and solve. And so for procurement, you've got to work it back from here and start early enough. Then you have to actually outline it, and then you have to recover when you get behind. Okay, and so this is the key to supply chain management, and really very few people do it. Then you're able to have the materials ready to go at the point of release to deliver to the project site. By the way, your procurement effort will include your lead time, the fabrication. Okay, so then it gets to the project site, but there's a couple of key things here. If you have the project, and I'm just going to draw this, let's say that this is a project and your building is over here, right? And this is your point of entry. From a logistics standpoint, we want to make sure that the deliveries are scheduled. Okay, so I'll just write that down. That the location of where the deliveries are going to be received and placed on the job site are mapped, so it's on a map. And what I will do, and I always talk about, this is key, is that your hoist operator, your crane operator, and your forklift operator, wherever they are, will follow the schedule and follow the map so that things go to where they need to go the first time and they don't get moved all over the place. If you do that, the only other thing that we need to do as a part of this overall process is we need to bring out materials just in time. Now, what that means is if you have a vendor, you can bring out the materials to their location directly from the vendor, or you can bring out the materials to a staging yard because you have what's called a material inventory buffer, and then bring them out here to the place of work. Just in time means don't clog the building with materials until you need them. Bring them just in time, but you can either bring them direct or through a staging yard with the right size buffers. Not too much, not too little. It has to be right sized. So what the just in time will allow you to do, if you're following that system, is to, when they do the work package, you can see, okay, hold on. So this is pretty genius here. If we want them to do work here, we needed to release the buyout way back over here. Okay, this is good stuff, by the way. The buyout of that contractor so that they could be released for their material procurement effort, right? So in order for us to do that work here, we needed to release the materials, or at least the start of the submittal effort way back here, so that that trade partner can get us to the point where we have materials that can be delivered, so that the materials could be delivered on time here, either to the place of work directly or to the staging yard, so that we can make sure that it only comes to the building just in time. So the problem here is that the release of this activity happens at different gates or different points of release. It happened back here when we designed it, right? So this was only enabled back here during the design. It was only enabled once we bought out the contractor. Now we have the contractor. It was enabled once we came out and we ordered the materials. Now we have the materials. It was enabled once we delivered the materials. Now we have the materials where they need to be for that contractor. And so now the trade brings the tools and the equipment and the people and the knowledge, and we're ready to execute that thing. So it becomes pretty clear. So the trade partner has their responsibilities and we have ours. Now, quick sidebar here. The concept of pull would say you can't do, like, let's say for instance this activity until this activity is done. So pace them together. Don't start this until this is done. And the concept of pull is let that rhythm be based on when contracts are finishing. But in construction, it's not so much this activity, and I'll just go ahead and mark it. It's not so much that this activity here is released to do its work once the predecessor is complete. It's actually, did we release these different points of release soon enough? And so it must be on a takt time, not just pull, because we have to have something to target because our supply chains are so long and so cumbersome. So we have to understand that. The only other thing that I want to say is if the crew wants to install here and you have this supply chain, right, that goes all the way from design to deliver, you will want a buffer here. Okay, so if you had a buffer in your overall, I'm just going to call it a schedule or a production plan, and there was a buffer in here, that buffer needs to be represented here as well, and you need to buffer the material. So if there's any risks that these materials are going to be late, you might need a buffer here just for the supply chain itself. So I want you to know we never just target, hey, this is when we need it, the supply chain should run right up to it. No, we always use buffers either to mimic what's in the production plan or a buffer for the supply chain in and of itself because there might be a risk of a delay. So if you, and we don't typically do this on these videos, but in summary, if you, as a part of your supply chain management, make sure that you have a good buyout system, that you have a good procurement system, and that you have a good on-site logistics and delivery and mobilization system that has these components, you will be successful. Add to that prefabrication and you have a home run. And so with this, you now have the resources and the materials for the foreman and the workers when they are installing their work on the work package. I love this topic so much that I'm going to make a beautifully formatted Canva graphic so that you can understand how the supply chain feeds the crews with the resources they need as a part of the integrated production control system. On we go.